With the news of the Trump leak came some pretty funny memes. The Daily Show tweeted that the Trump administration accidentally added them to their group chat. Here's a parody of a drunk defense secretary, Pete Hegseth, trying to find a Taco Bell, apparently. Then there's fake Vice President J.D. Vance complaining about his face getting bigger after discussing whether we should withdraw from the UN, referencing all those memes of him with a big head that he himself finds funny. Then there's tech titan Elon Musk asking if anyone knows 400 good babysitters, and here are some others depicting Musk being left out of the conversation and sad about that. Then there was Chinese President Xi Jinping and Russian President Vladimir Putin waiting for Hegseth's response. Then there was the satirical news site The Babylon Bee writing a story titled 40 Chess Genius Trump Leaks War Plans to the Atlantic Where No One Will Ever See Them. Musk then tweeted, best place to hide a dead body is page 2 of the Atlantic magazine because no one ever goes there.
But there is a more serious side to this episode as well.
In his piece, Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg spoke to lawyers who told him if officials want to discuss military activity, they should go into a specially designated space known as a sensitive compartmentalized information facility, or a SCIF. Most cabinet-level national security officials have one installed in their home or communicate only on approved government equipment. Normally, cell phones are not permitted inside a SCIF, which suggests that as these officials were sharing information about an active military operation, they could have been moving around in public. Had they lost their phones or had they been stolen, the potential risk to national security would have been severe.
Of course, this raises serious questions. Was the Trump administration's chat even legal in the first place?
Well, the Trump camp seems to believe so. Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt wrote on X, Jeffrey Goldberg is well known for his sensationalist spin. Here are the facts about his latest story. No war plans were discussed. No classified material was sent to the thread. The White House counsel's office has provided guidance on a number of different platforms for President Trump's top officials to communicate as safely and efficiently as possible. I thought the funniest joke was the one did you see Big Bird in the room with that was a good meme. Maybe we can throw that up on screen later. I tweeted some other funny ones, but what I think is funny is a little too out there, a little too sophisticated for I think mainstream audiences who just I guess think the Daily Show is funny. I'm not sure I've laughed at anything the Daily Show has done in maybe my entire life, at least 20 years.
Well, I laugh at a lot of it, and I'm impressed by how intelligent Jon Stewart is. So that's my take on the Daily Show.
Okay.
But I think the fact that Americans can make fun about these things and the creativity that goes into many of these jokes is a good thing.
Oh,
I think
agree
also
with that.
given what's going on in this country right now, I think it's a little bit of comic relief. So that's a good thing.
Sure, and it's good to be able to laugh at yourself. Like J.D. Vance actually thought the memes of his head getting bigger and bigger that were funny. I think that's a good thing.
And Elon Musk being upset because where was I? Why wasn't I in there? After all, I am king.
Yeah, how dare you?
The head of all this,
How dare you
I'm
convene
surprised
without me?
I'm actually surprised he wasn't there in a way.
Yeah.
Pleasantly surprised.
Of course you were. So the question then is if this violates some kind of rule for where sensitive discussions must take place. Now, it's interesting, the White House's spin on this is that, well, it was not war plans, it was like a check-in, it's not sensitive information, we were allowed to have that discussion. I don't know who has standing to object and say, no, it actually was illegal and what the penalty would be. I don't know.
I don't think any person on the right or the left would think that it was reasonable for this chat to be done the way it was, heard the way it was. And of course they were discussing war plans. Somebody else said, well, it was just they were discussing policy, but the policy they were discussing was the war. We don't have to, in that sense, I think that we don't have to, go through the weeds too much on this. Everybody knows what happened. Everybody knows what should not have happened. And I think at this point, the question that we need to focus on is, will any heads roll? Will any changes be made? Will any accountability be enforced?
I want members of our government to discuss their unconstitutional war plans in as public an arena as possible. Forget Signal. Let's do it in like a Facebook group where there's millions of people who have been added. Like,
this is where what you
I don't want secrecy for things that I don't think should even be taking place.
Well, your point is very well taken, and I agree with you that it is Congress people who should be discussing any kinds of serious issues about whether or not the United States takes action of war. Given what is at the moment, however, this president, first of all, regardless whether or not he has the constitutional right to do what he's doing, this is the president's behavior on pretty much everything. This is authoritarian rule. We're going to do it because I want to do it.
Well, Trump had nothing to do with this. I mean, he was
Yes,
not
he
in,
did.
he
It
was
was-
not in the thread.
No. He had said recently, and once again, I'm not even saying it's not, I'm not even saying it's an illegitimate conversation whether or not to bomb the Houthis. The president did say recently that there would be severe consequences and he would be taking action. The president did say that against the Houthis if their activities didn't stop. No, he did. And so they were right to be taking on the topic. I don't think anybody's really disagreeing with that. It all has to do with whether or not that chat should have taken place in a way that a journalist or anyone else could hear.
Well, no, it should not. From their standpoint, they should be pretty mad at Waltz, who's the individual who's being
And it should not have
charged with
been on
having
a
said it
platform where Waltz could even do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you might be right about that. I mean, it's really interesting.
You think that he did it on purpose?
He might have.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't. Well, he could have done it on purpose.
Hold on. Do you think we'll ever know?
I don't know if we'll ever know. No, we may
But
not.
this is
ever know.
Washington.
Some people even. I mean, some people think the whole thing was. I heard people were texting me saying, "Do you think the whole thing was like scripted or rehearsed?" I'm like, no, I don't think that at all.
No, I don't.
But I know. But the fact that it was easy to make that mistake, to add that person instead, shows that must suggest to me that Waltz communicates with Jeffrey Goldberg on a regular basis, right?
Well, we already know that. We already know
Yes.
that he is using. But to me, the deeper issue.
But this is this as conservatives are portraying him correctly in this way as a very, very leading anti-Trump intellectual journalist, leader of a very anti-Trump magazine. There's a diversity of thought in The Atlantic on a lot of subjects. There's not much diversity of thought on whether Trump is bad. That is very much the editorial line of The Atlantic. So that you would be talking frequently to this person, I think that's the warning.
We keep talking about this over and over and over and over again. We've already kind of established the parameters of this conversation, where we agree and where we don't agree. So I just think at this point, America will move on. I think in a way you and I ought to move on a little bit on this.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you think the American people will care about this much? This is a media story.
American people should care that there are insecure communications going on at the top level of our defense conversations. The American people should care about that. Right, or this shouldn't even be a partisan issue.
They shouldn't. I'm not saying they shouldn't care. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't care. I think the level of obsession with this story that the media is going to have for the next couple days is probably not reflective of what the American.
That's why I said, why are we still talking about it?
Well, I don't know, 'cause we are in the media. I don't know. We're a political news show. Why are we doing anything, Marianne? Why don't we just talk about what movies we like? And that's happy. I'm fine to do that.
No, some of the conversations.
How was your weekend, my dear?
Some of the conversations are very good. I just think that the main issue here is the unbelievable lack of qualification of this defense secretary. But once again, we said it over and over again. Hopefully, we'll be getting to a new topic soon.
All right. This was the last word on this subject for now. We do have other things to discuss today. Stay tuned for more Rising.